Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just another tinfoil hat. Welcome to my show. Today we are going to be discussing one side of the incredibly double-edged sword that is running water and the supernatural. Now, the involvement of water in paranormal phenomena, supernatural phenomena, the unexplained, folklore, however you want to come at this general topic, is extensive and far more than I'm going to cover in this video alone. There are obvious connections between water and waterways in every angle of the unexplained. And this is something that I've mentioned in a previous video as well. And actually, it was in the comment section of that very video that someone, thank you very much Patrick Nottingham, brought up a fantastic point. There is a widely held belief that supernatural beings are unable to cross running water. So today, that is exactly what we're going to be discussing. So this is one of those beliefs that's actually so deeply entrenched in people's belief systems surrounding unexplained phenomena that it's even worked itself into pop culture. I mean, a notable example right off the bat is the inability of the Headless Horseman to cross the covered bridge in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And of course, there is the well-known aspect that vampires are unable to cross running water. Now, interestingly enough, for as much vampire lore as was invented by Bram Stoker for Dracula, and then taken as gospel, this is something that has hefty precedent. Whether you're dealing with ghosts, demons, hellhounds, fairies, of course vampires, there's this concept that these supernatural beings can't cross running water. So even the tradition of painting porch ceilings blue, haint blue as it's called in the South, this was believed to actually confuse ghosts away from your home. They'd look at the light blue and they'd think to themselves, oh geez, that's a river. I can't cross that threshold and haunt this house. Now, as with many beliefs surrounding paranormal phenomena though, one person's protection is another person's invitation. Up here in Wisconsin, I grew up hearing that if you painted your ceilings blue, you were actually inviting ghosts into your residence. Now, a step away from the inability to cross running water, we also have this traditionally held belief that enchantments or even fairy glamour can be diminished or fade completely if passed over or submerged in running water. There are even accounts of people throwing supposed changelings in or over rivers in an attempt to reclaim the human child. Now, again, on the flip side, there's also the wide-held belief that water is actually a boon to paranormal phenomena. And, even some of the entities I just mentioned in my list of things that are said to be unable to cross running water, there are just as many accounts where they are said to haunt a particular stretch of river or stream or something like that, especially regarding hellhounds, fairies, and ghosts. Now, I think that this really is just kind of a perfect example of the very contradictory and trickster-esque aspect of the unexplained. But this is a can of worms that I will definitely discuss in a later video. Now, again, what is it about these things being said to be unable to cross running water? Now, a lot of people have a lot of different theories about why this is. From the folkloric concept or religious concept of water being a cleansing force, which these things are unable to traverse, to the more recent paranormal concept that there's kind of a grounding of energies that occurs. There are a lot of explanations for why this would be the case. I think if we take a look at this from a more symbolic angle, however, a different concept emerges. Mythologically speaking, rivers are heavily associated with the concept of boundaries between worlds. Whether the Yule River of Norse mythology, the Habur of Mesopotamian, the well-beloved river Styx, there are countless rivers which serve as some sort of barrier between this plane of existence and whatever other world you believe in. Especially interesting is the river which separates this plane of existence from Mictlan, the Aztec realm of the dead. The river Apanahuaya could only be crossed with the aid of a dog, the Xoloitzcuintli. And again, this ties into this widely held concept across many different cultures that dogs are associated with the dead and also with waterways. It's really, really interesting. So also too, in most traditions, the river which serves as a barrier or a boundary must also be traversed by the deceased. And this ties into many different customs and traditions involving the dead and death. So before we go down that incredibly long, incredibly muddy road, let's get back to the topic at hand. Given that there's such a mythological precedent for waterways to serve as barriers between worlds, and combining this with the concept that symbolically water represents the unconscious mind, when we have these cases or these beliefs regarding the inability of beings to cross running water, in these cases, is it a dead giveaway that the entity in question is sourced solely in the subconscious mind, an abstraction unable to solely cross over into our concrete reality? The question that I've had ever since considering the concept that paranormal phenomena may be reflective in some way or have its source partly in the subconscious mind. The question that I've had then is there a true example of another intelligence? Or is this simply some as of yet unknown or misunderstood function of the human mind? It's a big question, the question of consciousness, the question of where objectivity ends and subjectivity begins. And I think that the river, and the concept of waterways and the inability to cross them serves as a very elegant model for this question. Because again, on the flip side, we have these countless accounts of entities not just crossing running water, but living in, interacting with, even embodying or controlling water and waterways. And so then for all of these accounts, the complete opposites, the antithesis to the inability to cross running water, are these then the examples of the true others amongst us, these things which have the ability to straddle liminality and act in both the abstract world of the subconscious and the objective world of reality? So if you enjoyed this quick episode on the inability of entities to cross running water, please like. And if you're new to this field of crop circles, go ahead and subscribe to see what weirdness the future may hold. Till then, you can keep up with whatever else I might possibly have going on my website, justanothertinfoilhat.com. And for exclusive content, you can check out my Patreon page, also listed under Just Another Tinfoil Hat. For today, I am Celia Edgar, signing off.
Doing.